pop-up video. It's hilarious. You remember that?
Do you feel like you're searching for something?
Yeah, I mean, always, but I think a lot of it is about meeting things halfway. I believe in law of attraction and laws of attraction and manifesting our own reality. But I also believe in the unexpected and putting them all together. All right. All right.
So tell me a little bit about what you're doing.
Well, I really like to anthropomorphize things. So I like taking inanimate objects and try to create some sense of personality or some sense of life to them. So the challenge with this, well, first, these bottles are really cool and their shape is very interesting, but they're a little small. So that's one challenge. And then the other challenge becomes how to tell a story with each individual bottle, and then they tell a larger story when you put them all together.
How long have you been painting antiques?
Man, I think I've been painting found objects since I was a little kid. But man, that's a good question. Really, I think I started doing it a lot more when Brenna and I started antiquing together. So I'd say seriously, where it's part of my vocabulary as an artist, I'd say maybe for 5 years. But painting on found objects probably for about 35 years.
What was your first found object that you painted?
Well, my mom used to do ceramics when I was a kid, and that was back when you used to have ceramic shops, and on every corner, and it was very much a thing that people did, particularly women at that time. And when you would buy these sort of different molds or different blank ceramics, and then you'd paint them. So I liked when you'd get them in greenware, so they were hard, but they weren't fire jet, and I would draw on them. So instead of painting on them, I would take a little black felt tip marker and draw and draw on them, and that was sort of the beginning, I think, that I can recall. And then when I got into high school and college, I kept doing it a lot.
But why?
I think accessibility is one. I didn't have a lot of art training or anything as a kid, so I learned to use what was around me. And then the thing with antiques is that antiques tell a story all by themselves. So as an artist, it's fun to work with them, and they have an energy to them because they have an actual lifespan that they've lived, usually far more than mine. And it's nice to think about all the world events that have been going on, and this object has been around since then. So these little bottles, for instance, are post World War II. So for the last 70 years, all world events, these little bottles have been roaming around the earth somewhere, and now we've come in contact with each other. Kind of try to bring new life into them, and then go our separate ways. Oops. So I think I'm just going to do 2 of these guys for now.
How do you feel this connects with the van life?
Which aspect of it?
You tell me.
Well, I mean, it all fuses together at one point. So, you can have an art studio next to a campfire, and you can have your house in a van. And to me, they all overlap and form a mesh that allows us to really explore, be childlike, but also kind of have the equipment of an adult to be able to really navigate correctly and really be able to explore properly and safely. So to me, the combination of the 2 things is really becomes exponentially something bigger. There's like a gestalt thing to it. All right, so now I'm gonna go back to this guy.
What do you do with these pieces?
Well, in the past, when I was a kid, I just used to kind of catalog them and archive them and kind of keep progress of my work. Now, thankfully, I've got a following and people that collect my work. So really, a lot of the stuff that I do goes to collectors and goes to auction. And I don't really keep a lot of my work anymore. And I also share it with friends and family and stuff. So kind of finds its own way around the world at this point.
I know there's like a big aspect of Americana, but do you feel like you're also kind of bringing Miami to Americana?
I mean, I think Miami is just part of who I am, and hopefully I bring that with me wherever I go. But I think I've also been traveling around the world since I was a kid and been able to take in a lot, and hopefully that all factors into it as well, and it creates just its own matrix. But in the end, it's really just about being able to explore and enjoy life and really try to bring more good in than was here when I got here. All right.
How did you think of the name Lebo?
Well, I didn't really. Lebo was a nickname when I was in high school, and back then, many years ago, pagers were very popular. Beepers, which a lot of people wouldn't even know what they are now, and we used to have numerical codes. So 143, for instance, meant "I love you," and so on and so forth. And I figured out if you put 0837 and then hold your pager upside down, it would spell out Lebo, which was a nickname of mine at the time in high school. And when I started doing that, it kind of solidified, and it's been that ever since.
That's pretty cool.
Right? Funny little historical footnote.
What was your creativity and art like when you were like 16, 17?
16, 17, I was doing art in high school. We didn't really have any proper art program to speak of. So I really joined different clubs and would do the art for them. Like I remember Amnesty International. I'm not even sure if they're around anymore. But more civic organizations and things like that. So to me, art was always very much infused into everyday life. When I got into college and saw more of the art world, which I appreciated, but I also noticed there was a sort of affectation to it that I wasn't drawn to. Since my background's in cartooning, uh, you know, comic strips used to be thrown away every day. So you have to have a certain amount of, levity towards your work when you know it's going to be thrown out every day. And I kind of adopted that. And ended up going into fine art instead of cartooning, but I really tried to keep that cartoonist approach.
In what sense is your background in cartooning?
Well, cartooning is why I wanted to become an artist. So when I was a kid and I used to see the comics in the newspaper and Saturday morning cartoons, it just really moved me. It was one of those things. I think we're all called to some sort of passion, and whether or not we listen to that call is another thing. But in my case, that's really just, it was like a bolt of lightning. And I really wanted to do it myself, and I was not very good at it. So I had to really, really practice, and I really had to love it. And I did for about 12 years nonstop. And around 12 years is where I feel like everything kind of broke open. Probably at about 20 years old, everything kind of changed for the better.
Why is that?
I just could create art very easily and effortlessly. And after doing it with a lot of diligence and practice for a long time, it just all kind of came together in one moment, which was very interesting. That I just went from kind of scratching out drawings and having to draw something many, many times to like a bolt of lightning hit me, and I could just kind of do it and nonstop. And it was a strange, beautiful feeling. I was working in my sketchbook. I happened to be in New York. I was 19, and I was actually drawing on a subway. And as the lights started flashing when we went underneath or through a tunnel or something like that, I just remember it was such a strange feeling. It went from practicing to just knowing how to do something. It's like you were trying to learn how to run your whole life, and then for 12 years, say, and then suddenly you could sprint. So, and then I never really stopped running after that. Oops.
Looks great.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then I'll finish these two guys.